Blah blam. We are live, multi-streaming in action right now. I've got 3 different setups on here. It's pretty sweet. I've got my laptop, I've got my MacBook Pro with my YouTube streaming, I've got my iPad with my Facebook streaming. Oh, and it just fell. And I've got my phone with my Instagram streaming live. So welcome, guys. Welcome. Let me adjust this Facebook one a little bit for you. There we go. Very beautiful. All right. So hope everybody's out there is doing super well today. Interestingly enough, YouTube was the only platform that asked me for a title for this video. Instagram and Facebook. Facebook, I'm surprised. Usually it asked me for one before, but maybe iPad is different. So I'm outside. I'm outside in the heat. So don't mind me drinking liquids. Don't give me a hard time saying that I shouldn't be drinking liquids. It is on my thermostat in my little gym sauna dojo here. It says 119 degrees. 119. Okay, I know it's not actually 119, but this metal roof, you guys see up here, this metal roof cooks. So when I sit out here, I was just training out here. But when I'm out here, this is endurance work on its own, just being outside in the heat. I have come to embrace the heat. I enjoy the challenge of being in it and just, putting my body, putting my mind through the test. I've got two giant fans on. Does nothing. It's just like a hair dryer blowing on you. I do have some a mister here to mist myself down, cool myself down. Yes, it is super necessary in the words of Jorge Masvidal. Super necessary to kind of mist yourself every once in a while here in the desert. So I've had a lot of good things happening for me recently. A lot of the energy I've been putting in with my capoeira programs, with my business, with my focus on working with certain types of clients, with the relationships I've built inside and outside of my businesses starting to yield more returns. And I've also been listening more to some personal growth, personal development stuff. And it's been a while since I've really tuned into some of that work on a regular basis. I've certainly gone through my different phases listening to different speakers like Tony Robbins, David Goggins, Wayne Dyer I was into for a while, Gary Vaynerchuk, Grant Cardone. If you followed me for any length of time, you've seen that I get super into some of these speakers. And the most recent one I've been following is Brendan Burchard, who I'd been aware of for a while. He has a book that I'd heard of called High Performance Habits. And it was always being advertised to me on Facebook and everything, High Performance Habits. I constantly see it. Then he ended up speaking at the convention. He was the keynote speaker for one of the companies that I'm involved with. And I didn't go to that, but I know some people who did, and they said it was great. But he just always seems super cheesy to me. He always has like this cheesy, looks very like Mr. Rogers, like very like plain and, button down shirt, nice hair, like just very plain guy. So it didn't speak to me in terms of, I need to, hear what this guy has to say. But therein lies the kind of cliche in personal growth, is that we don't think we need to listen to something, or we think we know it until we listen to it. And again, it might be something that we already do know, but we haven't thought about in a while, or we hear a different way of it being phrased, or it's just a different perspective. And sometimes, hearing something that we haven't heard in a while, it brings something back up. So I was kind of like, I was very much just in need of some motivation, some inspiration. I'm kind of been in a little bit of a place of comfort, and I wanted to not feel necessarily uncomfortable. Of course, that might be part of growth. That's another one of those cliches. Discomfort often comes along with growing, but I just wanted to feel inspired. I hadn't felt inspired for some time, in the ways that I used to. And part of that is just I've hit certain peaks, I've hit certain levels with my business. But on top of that, I don't really do so much within the business, you could say. So I work more on the business than I work in the business these days. And I think that sometimes when it's like that, it might not be as exciting or as motivating when you're not in the day-to-day operations. And that's by choice. I don't really want to be in the day-to-day operations. It's not my favorite thing. It's not really where I want to put most of my energy. So I've been kind of on that bigger macro 30,000 foot view. Where do I go? And for me, I'm extremely passionate about working with athletes, especially fighters, and people in the MMA combat sports world. So there's one podcast that I follow, a couple of guys, Luke Thomas and Brian Campbell. They have a show called Morning Combat on YouTube. It's a CBS Sports and Showtime podcast. So they said on their podcast, hey, we're going to be in Vegas for the Conor fight. Come out and see us. So I had a training session scheduled yesterday morning when they were having their first shoot. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna go right after my training session. I'm gonna dash down there. They were filming on the Strip. They were filming at the Park MGM. I said, I'm gonna go down there, find these guys. I'm gonna go down there and bring them some Chef Kaz food. Stopped off at the house from the gym, dashed right down to the Strip, and basically I got to Park MGM just as they were breaking down the set, just as they were wrapping up. And I was like, man, really? Like, they just left. And nobody there really wanted to help me very much. Not surprised. They're like, who's this random guy here? And the guys had just gone to the UFC Apex. So I said, all right, you know what? Like, they told me that's where they went, and they're like, oh, yeah, you can go meet them there. So I said, well, this is how I did things in the beginning, guys. I would just go for it. If I wanted something to happen, like sometimes you waste time, sometimes you waste money. I spent $18 at the valet trying to get in faster to the Park MGM, and I was in there for like 10 minutes and they wouldn't refund me the $18. They wouldn't, I still had to pay it. So it's like, but these are the losses you take sometimes. Sometimes you just have to eat it a little bit, but then keep going. So I go to the Apex, which, if you're not familiar with it, is like the UFC's own production house. So that's where they have a lot of the fights. They have the press conference there. And, of course, you can't just walk in. So I messaged a client who's high up in the UFC. I said, I'm trying to, get connected with these guys. Can you get me access into the UFC, into the Apex for the shooting? So, it was kind of a struggle. I had to kind of pull some strings. They weren't too thrilled about it, but I got in. I came in with the food, and I brought it over to the guys, and they didn't even know what was going on. They're like, what's this guy here with food for us? What's this all about? And, so that was kind of the story. And the one guy, Luke, he had probably got my email because he's like, are you Kaz? And I'm like, yeah, I'm Kaz. So, but what's the point, guys? The point is sometimes you just got to like shoot for a dream. Sometimes you just got to try it. Sometimes you just got to like see what you can make happen, because you never know. You really, really never know. And so, I just encourage you guys to really just, when you have an insight, when you have an ambition, when you have something that inspires you, I think it's so easy for us to essentially hold ourselves back, to say, I'm not going to try for that. I'm not going to go for that. I'm not going to put energy into that. I'm not going to write about that. I'm not going to have thoughts about that. I'm not going to dream about that. I'm not going to wish for that. And I just feel like that's not a recipe for success. Not just obviously with that thing, but with life, right? Sometimes we just have to be willing to say, it's, again, cliche, the truth in cliches, the truth in personal development cliches. It's like that movie Yes Man, right? Again, super cliche, just say yes. But guys, it is amazing sometimes when you just go for it and you just say yes, and you just like, not even yes to anybody else, it's like yes to yourself, like yes to ourselves. Because, sometimes it's, like I said, it's just super easy. It's so easy just to cut off the possibility of something before it's even close. Like, give yourself the option. Right? I remember, like, when I was interviewing for jobs, and I had the mentality like, I'll take multiple job interviews because I don't know if the company is going to offer me a job, right? I don't know if they're going to do that, but I can interview. I can show up, being excellent, and then see what happens. If they offer me the job, I don't have to take it. But if I don't get offered it, I don't have the option. I can't just be like, I want what job I want, and that's that. Like that's not how it works. I can't just walk in and be like, give me that job. It doesn't work that way. You got to apply. They got to consider you first, and then you prove to them that you're worth it. Then they make you the offer. Then you can decide if you want it. That's a power position. That's the place you want to play from, where you can turn stuff down. I have work that comes to me that I say, I'm sorry, that's not something we really offer for that budget. I always try to provide people with some options. What did I do? There we go. I always try to provide people with different options for their budget. But sometimes, like, my service isn't necessarily going to be for everybody. My service isn't necessarily going to fit what everybody's looking for. There's no brand. There's no company that provides a service that's for everyone. It doesn't exist. If there was a company that sold oxygen, maybe, right? But like even sleep or something, food, obviously there's so many different companies. So even water, right? Like I use a specific type of water. Can you believe that? Like just water, that's stuff from the earth. But that is our world, right? That is our world. So when people come to me and they say, hey, what makes you different? What makes you, why should I listen to you? Why should I consider what you have to say? All I can tell you is, one, I have something different than anything else that's out there right now. There's other people that have intersectionalities. I have a little bit of what they have. They have a little bit of what I have. But there's nothing quite like what I offer. There's too many intersections. And I've been just doing this for so long. And again, there's people out there who know way more than I do. There's people who know way different things than I do that I have no idea about. But what I know about, I have a very high level of knowledge about. I am very confident in my ability. If somebody said, there's no price tag, get me on all this, there's no blank check, get me on all the stuff for 1 month. If it works, you keep getting the check. I'm going to get that person at such another level, they can't even imagine. They can't even imagine the level I'm gonna be able to get them on in a relative, like, guys, 30 days. 30 days. That's really it. That's all it takes. So I'm still formulating what this whole big picture concept is going to look like, Kaz effect, the way of Kaz, So that's what I'm working on, guys. I'm excited again, though. I'm excited. I'm motivated. And one of the things that I liked in that video is it's like, motivation is a byproduct of momentum. Right? So it's easy to think like, oh, I'm going to be at rest and I'm going to feel motivated, or I'm going to be watching TV and then I'm just going to feel this It's lightning strike of motivation, lightning strike of inspiration. It doesn't work that way. When you get yourself into action, that's actually when you feel more motivated. Another good example. This morning, you can see I'm out here in the gym. I had a someone I trained canceled with me. And I said, well, I was thinking to myself, if I had the morning free, I was going to do legs today. I was going to lift legs. I haven't been lifting from some injuries that I'd sustained, but, feeling a lot better. Things are healing up. I actually did some lifting on Tuesday. That was good. So I said, all right, let's do it. Let's get this leg session in. And I had a call at 10:30. I had a nice long warm up from about 8 till 9, and then I had a really solid legs day for the first time in weeks, and I needed it. And like everything in my body is like, yes, that was good. So I pushed through it. I adjusted. I recalibrated. I had one situation that changed. I made it into a better situation. I could have been like, oh, my client canceled on me, blah blah blah, wah. Wasted my time, but be able to adjust, be able to change. Again, these are the cliches. These are the things you hear about again and from every one of those personal development teachers. Again, they all have their own different way of saying it, but the truths of the universality of this way, it's like, guys, really at the end of the day, it's like math. As crazy as that might sound, like a good life, there's a formula for it, just like 2 + 2 is 4. And I think a lot of people, they're spinning in circles, so to speak, because they are trying random things of their own accord, but they're not following formulas that are tried and true. There's tried and true formulas to building wealth. There's tried and true formulas to building health. There's tried and true formulas to building success in anything. So you might be like, oh, well, that doesn't apply for what the industry I'm in. Guys, for anything. And I really encourage you to seek some of those out. If you're not sure what they are, watch some of my old videos. If you're not sure what they are, message me. My passion is impact. That's my passion. I've realized that very clearly. I'm going to write that down for myself, actually. My passion is impact. What is impact? My passion is impact. What is impact? It's making an effect on someone else's life that wouldn't have happened if you hadn't been there, if you hadn't said what you said, if you hadn't done what you done. That's what it is, in a positive way, meaning positive to them, for them, right? It might be, somebody saying something to you might not have a positive effect on you, but it might have a positive effect on somebody else. I did a video several months ago, and I had said 2 things that you suck at. And I had somebody I ran into when I was in California a few weeks ago say to me, man, that video was awesome. Like, you got me so fired up. I loved it. I didn't even know the guy was watching. I didn't even comment, didn't like it, nothing. But he's like, man, that really made an impression on me. That's impact, right? So impact doesn't always feel like likes. Impact doesn't always feel like, great. Impact doesn't always feel good, like you did something. Impact's like way later. That's in the Cast Effect logo. There's the reverberation. Because sometimes you won't find out that you had the impact until like 18 degrees later or 18 months later. These are the things that's so important to consider when you don't feel like it. When I don't feel it. It takes work for me to go get all my devices, set them up like this. It takes time. I could be doing something else. It's hot out here. My devices are like, they don't like this, all the brightness goes down because the machines are like, this is too hot out here, but my machine is like, this feels good. So that's what I wanted to kind of get on here and talk to you guys about. Was I'm just really, really into this idea that, that there's this great truth in the cliches, writing this down for myself, of personal development. There's great truth. There's great truth in the cliches. So listen, what do I mean by cliches? There are things that you hear again and again and again. It's like, oh, that sounds like a motivational speaker. That sounds like something you would hear in a personal. Like, why do we say things like that? Right? Why do we hear these things and again and again? Why? Because they're true. Because many people, sometimes the person might discover it for themselves. Like I'm telling you guys about my own anecdotal stories. But a lot of these personal development, personal growth coaches, what they do is they work with other people like myself. I work with athletes. I work with coaches in martial arts across the board. And I do my best to implement into my life and to bring to you guys what I learned from them. What are their best practices look like? Not necessarily the details, not the specifics, but the concepts, the framework, the structure. Because your own life isn't going to look like Francis Ngannou's, right? Your own life isn't going to look like Rory McDonald's. Your own life is going to look very different. But I've seen some of the best practices. I implement their best practices. A lot of that structure, routine, schedule, right? The predictability is huge. Predictability. Again, that's going in my notebook. Predictability. The importance of I hope you guys are taking notes. I'm taking notes on myself. All right. So I'm going to leave you there. Hit me up for all your wants and needs. I'm here to level you guys up. I'm here to help you. If this is speaking to you, if this is calling out to you, hit me up. I can get you started on something as little as $100, guys. $100 will start to change everything for you. Yeah, that's it. I'll leave you there. But blam. Let me shut off all my devices. Kaz out. Boy.